Good morning, guys. It is 2 minutes past 10 actually on Wednesday, the 25th of January 2023, and I've decided just to start off with the details for the video this morning because I can refer then to the questions that I had posed. So, a discussion of what ifs. Well, what if you stopped investing? Okay, so let's go and have a look and see where we had gotten to at the current time. So currently the portfolio value is just under £5,000. So if you were to stop investing at that point, that's not quite a year since we began. This is week 42. So if you'd done that, you would have roughly £5,000 in your investment portfolio. If nothing else, I suppose you could say it's a nice cushion to have to lean on in the event that you had to replace something at the house. Although, of course, the good advice is to not rely on your investment portfolio for replacement items. You really want to have a safety cushion. What is it they normally call that? Oh, my head's going to defeat me as usual. An emergency fund. You normally want to have an emergency fund, and the conventional wisdom is that your emergency fund should be worth in the region of 3 to 6 months of your normal expenditure. I would caveat that slightly, and what I would say is that adjust that to take account of your own situation. And what I mean by that is, if you are, let's say, a civil servant, or somebody that's in you're an employee in a massive organisation run by government, or might as well be. Your job security is very good. If you do end up having to go off work for a substantial period of time, you'll get full pay on your sick leave for a length of time. Certainly that's the case in the NHS, at least for the first few months. So obviously, if you're in that position, maybe your emergency fund doesn't need to be just as large. On the other hand, if you are, let's say you were a self-employed tradesperson, so you're working for yourself. If you had no other, say you had no health insurance, or you had no forget about health insurance for now. Let's say you had no income protection insurance. That's possibly not the right term for it. But in other words, let's say if something happened, you would be left high and dry financially. You would have no income for whatever reason. If it was because you couldn't work, or let's say, I don't know, quite simply the work dried up, or it was no longer feasible to do the job that you do now due to the change in the cost of materials, or XYZ, add in your own black swan. So my point being, if your employment is somewhat more, as we might say, precarious, then perhaps you should consider funding your emergency account that bit more. Let's say more towards the 6 months worth of monthly expenditure. And that emergency fund, that is essentially dead cash in as much as that's money that you want to have sitting there available that you can get access to immediately if you need to, without having to rely on somebody else to buy your stock if you try and sell it on the market or something like that. So the emergency fund is separate. Okay, so I think I've probably pretty much nailed it. What if you stopped investing? Basically, if you stopped investing, well, if you kept your money in the market, obviously it'll be influenced by whatever way the market moves. If you withdraw the money, it will lock in whatever the value of it is, but you will not be able to take advantage of any growth that the market may produce subsequently. Nor would you in fact be able to receive any dividend payments that could be paid out subsequently either. So, what level of financial independence would be achieved? How much could you spend? Okay, whenever I said how much could you spend, I understood that, but I haven't made it clear enough. I should have said how much could you spend on an ongoing monthly basis without damaging the value of your portfolio. In other words, what level of financial independence would be achieved? So let's go back to our market. So as I say, currently we're looking at a portfolio value 4946, and I want to call up the famous calculator. Now I'm trying to I know the figure in my head that I would use to work out this calculation, but I'm trying to work out how would I demonstrate that to you. Okay, so normally we say that your financial independence number, your FI number, is your total annual expenses multiplied by 25, right? So let's say, for instance, and I'm going to take this as probably an unrealistically low number for most people. Let's say that your normal normal annual expenses were 10,000. Okay, if we wanted to work out your FI number, we multiply that by 25. Okay. Let's say you wanted to do it monthly instead. So instead of multiplying just by 25, so you take your normal monthly expenses, presuming that would be 750, would it? Let me see what 750 times 12. Oh, here, no, that's completely wrong. What have I done? Let's start again. 750 times 12. 9,000. Okay, I didn't quite get there. 10,000 divided by 12 monthly. We're talking, oh goodness, not a handy number to work with. Right. Guys, I'm going to change it. Let's make our annual expenses 12,000. Right. Okay. So we can all agree if it's 12,000 per year, it's 1,000 per month. And to work out how much your FI number would be, obviously you would multiply by 12 in the first instance to get to how much per year, and then you would multiply by 25 to get your FI number, 300,000. Think back again. I multiplied by 12 in the first instance, and then I multiplied by 25. That gives us 300. Okay, so in other words, if you wanted to know how much you can safely withdraw per month from a particular sum of money that's invested and without depleting basically indefinitely, that's the idea. The FI number for any particular amount is that amount divided by 300. So let me give you the example that we've got here. So in this investment portfolio, currently we've got 4946. I'm just checking the market is open because I haven't seen that move. Right, anyway, 4946 divided by 300. Now it's not going to be much, but hypothetically speaking, if you've got that amount invested, theoretically you could sell almost £16.50 worth of stock on a monthly basis, indefinitely ongoing, and hypothetically speaking, with the expected market growth that should occur on average over time, we would expect to be able to consistently withdraw roughly that amount near enough indefinitely, and certainly for at least 30 years. That was the length of time that was considered by the famous mathematician. I think it was a mathematician, I don't think he was a statistician, and his name escapes me now, but if you look at the website, I'm pretty sure I have made mention of him there. Now I'm not talking about J.L. Collins, I'm talking about somebody else. Oh yes, William has come to me now. William Bengen, or William Began. He was the basically the genius. Well, genius is maybe, he wouldn't call himself a genius, but he was the guy that came up with the safe withdrawal rate. So if you want to know more about that, it's pretty simple. Go to Google, put in safe withdrawal rate, William, and start. There you go, William Bengen, Bengen, and you'll find out stuff about that. Right, so coming back to our questions and so on. Okay, so as I've just discovered there, currently with the investment portfolio that I've got, which, as we know, is currently actually worth slightly less than what we've actually invested. It's down 1.9% near enough on the total invested, and even with doing that for roughly about a year, hypothetically speaking, well, this corresponds to more than the value of my mobile contract a month. You might laugh whenever you hear what mine's costing me a month. £6. Anybody? How does that sound? So with that portfolio there, I can easily afford to fire my mobile phone. I no longer have to worry about that, and indeed I could hypothetically put a tenner a month aside towards the cost of a new phone as well. However, I will be honest, and I will say I've never owned anything that starts with an I, and I have no intention of owning anything that starts with an I. I don't need them, don't want them. My Android does the job perfectly well, thank you very much. Right, coming back to the details again. So we've seen what would happen if you stopped investing. Basically not a lot, but you would have some money. What financial independence would be achieved? Well, so far not a lot, but how does £16.50 say free cash indefinitely sound every month? Well, not to be sneezed at. What have we learned? We've learned that the market doesn't always do what you hope it's going to do in the short to mid-term. We've been investing now for around about, well, just under a year. So what are we now? We're in January, so I'm assuming, did I start this in March, April, something like that? So basically, let's say we started somewhere around here, I think, and as we can see, the market has fallen. It has gone above, it has fallen back, gone above and has fallen and is still really trying to break through this uncertainty. I think is what's causing the breaks at the minute on the market. The uncertainty surrounding the whole Ukraine thing, and doubts about whether or not we are facing Armageddon. Who was it said to me, or didn't say to me, but I remember seeing somebody saying, if there was World War 3 or 4, whatever one we're up to now, tomorrow, and everything is destroyed, it'll not matter what's in your investment portfolio. We'll be in a totally different world at that point. Can you influence it? No. So, is there any point in worrying about it? No. What do? Keep investing. It's as simple as that. Okay. So yes, the market goes up, it goes down, but when it goes down, you continue investing, and you are able to benefit from dollar cost averaging. I think we had seen that demonstrated better in the earlier part of this video series. Are ETFs the be all and end all? Well, honestly, no, they're not. If you read J.L. Collins' book, The Simple Path to Wealth, he does make reference to real estate investment trusts, or some people call them REITs. And those are basically big funds which typically they own property, which could be commercial, it could be residential, and those properties are rented out, and often as not they're managed, and the obligation, if you like, of a REIT is to return, I think they have to return something like 90% of their profit, where they make a profit, to their investors. So often as not, if you've got investments in a REIT, you will see returns on a monthly basis, and as we know, property does tend to increase in value, although that in itself is not perhaps something that we want to really focus on very much, because you don't know when a REIT is going to you don't know when they're going to sell a property, or when they're going to buy some other property, or make other changes that could affect income in that regard. Sorry, did I say J.L. Collins talks about REITs? I think I did. My apologies. No, he doesn't. No, J.L. Collins in The Simple Path to Wealth actually talks about bonds. Now, the bond market is not really available through Trading 212. To be honest, it goes slightly beyond my own understanding, in as much as I haven't invested in any bonds. The theory behind them is basically that when the economy takes a downturn, typically you will see government increasing their borrowing in an attempt to try to stimulate the economy. And the way they do that is normally through the issue of government bonds. Sometimes they may be called gilts. Those provide normally a small percentage fixed return if you hold them for the length of time that they're issued for. So let's say, for instance, if government was to issue a 10-year bond at 4%, hypothetically speaking, whatever money you had lent the government by buying that bond would be repaid in monthly instalments and at an interest rate of 4%. Now, it's a bit more complicated than that, in as much as bonds can be traded as well, and the price that a bond will sell for does depend on other factors. So sometimes the value of bonds can go up as well as down, and normally the percentage doesn't change, but it's as I say, it's rather complicated. Basically, the idea, and I think it is backed up by some historical statistics, if you like. The idea is that in less good market conditions, the bonds provide a slower but more stable income, and are more predictable. So the likes of William Bengen there, he did actually study what would be the effect of having a portfolio that was, say, 60% essentially ETFs and 40% bonds, and look at that over a period of, say, 30 years. And to the best of my knowledge, I think they did find that a portfolio that had a component made up of bonds as well as ETFs was more resilient than one that was simply made up of ETFs. Okay, there's pros and cons to these things. As I say, there's more volatility with ETFs. The risk, I suppose, with the ETF is that if you have too big of a downturn, or a downturn that lasts too long in the market, in other words, if your portfolio value dips too low and you need to rely on it to survive, and you withdraw basically more than would be feasible by the safe withdrawal rate, you can damage the capital of the portfolio. You can basically end up overspending, to put it simply, and then of course going forward, even if the market outperforms its normal expectations, if your portfolio is that badly damaged, you may well find that it can never recover because of the amount that you need to continue taking out of it. So that's where the logic behind the bonds comes in, is that they should, in theory, continue to provide you enough of a stable income so that you can rely more heavily on the income from the bonds whenever there's a market downturn, and less on the ETFs. Now, what I have put in here, you can see I've typed in consider REITs, consider real estate investment trusts. The reason I put that is because real estate investment trusts, as I say, they tend to return, or I think they've got a legal obligation to return 90% of profits to shareholders. Typically they do it monthly, so you will see a sort of regular income from REITs that are performing in profit, and mostly they are dividend paying as well. Now, it's fair to say that the value of REITs in the same way as bonds, does fluctuate. And in fact, as things stand at present, the REITs, I think, are probably down just as much as the market. However, this at present theoretically is a great time to buy them. And the other thing is, even if a REIT falls in value, well, as you get more income every month being paid in from a REIT, now I have to caveat that and say not every REIT pays an income every month. Some of them are quarterly. There may be others that are biannually. I don't think there's any that are as scarce as simply one annual payment, but I could be wrong on that. Again, I'm not an expert on this. I know more about ETFs, but let's say a REIT does fall in value, well, and you are, consistently getting some sort of an income in from it. If that's reinvested, you're going to be automatically benefiting from dollar cost averaging. So therefore, I don't know, to me it makes sense. To me, whether, if you want to build in some more security into your portfolio, I would think REITs would be a good way to do it. Bonds are another way to do it. To be honest, the best way of all is basically to have that much money in the portfolio that even if it does fall in value, it doesn't matter, because you've still got plenty more than what you need. And the best way to achieve that is to start investing as early as you can in life, and to invest consistently throughout your working career. So the more you invest, the better, and the more protection you build in against market downturns and that sort of thing. Guys, with all that said, let's get on and invest today's hypothetical £120 in the S&P 500 exchange traded fund, seen here on the Vanguard. Seen here on the Trading 212 practice platform. Currently, it looks like we'll be buying just under 2 shares for £120. Let's send that through, see if it executes, and see if this figure changes. So it does look as if it has executed, because I saw the notification up here and I saw a thing up here over here. However, as yet over here I'm not seeing the change, whereas I am down here. So at the bottom we've now got a portfolio value of 5067. Up here we haven't changed. That's fair enough. As you can see today, just take a quick look at the overall picture. Today we're down about 0.5%. We're up about 1% for the week, about 2% for the month, and about 0.75% compared to this time last year. Basically, we're just depending on sort of where a week or a month lands compared to here. We're going to be somewhere on this roller coaster, which has been ongoing since October 21 or thereabouts. Actually, no, it's been ongoing since January 22. So yeah, literally about a year now this has been going on. Personally, I think it is not going to be long before the market pulls itself out of the doldrums. Sometimes I like to look at a 2 times leverage and a 3 times leverage equivalent of the S&P 500, just to see how their graphs differ, if they differ from the normal S&P 500. So let's have a look at the 2 times here. So as you can see, The 2 times basically shows something fairly similar. Growth up to January 22, and then a bit of a downward trend from there, all the way down until about Octoberish, possibly even December. But to me, the December low there looks a bit less low than the October one, and I wonder, are we starting to see some green shoots? Let's have a look at the 3 times leverage. Now, this is a bit more dramatic looking because of the multiplication factor. That's as far back as I can go in time. Let's have a look at the dates. So this is 2021, the summer, on an upward trend right up until December, and then in January 22 everything goes down, 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 and down. Now, as I say, there's October 2022. The most recent downturn was in December, right around Christmas, but it doesn't appear to have been just as low as the one in October. I am honestly starting to think that we are looking at green shoots here. It's not obvious whenever you look at the normal ETF, but whenever you take into account the 2 times, 3 times leverage, it looks to me as if things are on the turn. Time will tell, guys. Thank you for watching today. It's been an absolute pleasure as usual, and I will be back again next week with a further £120 to invest in the market. Until then, have a great end to your day, and if you enjoy the content, why not give it a like, hit the subscribe button. The bell will keep you notified, and I'll see you next week.